Great job, guys. You're doing incredibly well. Keep up this momentum and you will become sales professionals who will smash your sales targets with ease. All right, so now what I want to consider is I want to have a look at the process, right? So when we build our sales deck, so I want to give you my sales deck, the process that we followed for our second tier or our buyer sales deck. 99% of organizations would use a similar process, right? So the first thing, obviously, you've got to catch the person's attention, right? So your opening has got to be dynamic. It's got to speak to transformation. It's got to speak to the undesirable state and the desirable state. And most importantly, you've got to speak transformation. You've got to catch the buyer's attention with the opening. Next, you want to speak about, so obviously you've done research, you have a good understanding of the business, of the organization. You have gone and you've had a look around and you have a good idea of what the challenges. So the first thing you need to know is what are the challenges, i.e. what is the undesirable state before they choose to form a supply partnership with you. Now notice, I don't use words like choose to buy from you. I use connected language. I use language that shows long-term connection, engagement, and commitment. I use words like long form, a long-term, mutually beneficial supply partnership. Those are the words that we need to use throughout the conversation to show that we're there for the long run, we're there and we are engaged, committed, and connected to making sure that we can deliver what we promise we can. Next, so that we have a look, we have a great opening, then we're going to identify the challenge or the undesirable state, then we're going to speak to, so who is experiencing that undesirable state? Once we know who's experiencing the undesirable state, it's a lot easier for us to, let those people who are experiencing the undesirable state could be influencers. So we need to know who's having the challenge, we need to speak to who's having the challenge, and we need to speak to how our product will positively transform whoever's having the challenge from their undesirable state to a way more desirable state. Then we need to have a look, but you see, there's a very important thing. We want to have a look at identifying what's missing from their current solution. But I hesitate here and I say, and the reason I do that is I really want you to understand, under no circumstances, and I mean no circumstances, can you ever badmouth your competition. So when you're highlighting what's missing from the current solution, you've got to talk in terms of the product, in terms of it is doing this, it's not performing. You never want to say, our competitor, we've seen this, they often have this problem, I saw a similar challenge down the road. No. You can never, and I'm going to say it one more time, you can never and must never badmouth your competition. You've got to be subtle. So when you're talking about what's missing from the current solution, talk about the solution, not the current supplier. Okay, I hope you've got that. It's really, really important. Next, we're going to have a look at what's changed, right? So remember, we've got to be doing that. I keep reminding you, this is why it is so critical. That monthly SWOT analysis is not a nice to have because you'll know what's going on in your markets. It's an absolutely critical part of any sales process. If you want to be an engaged salesperson, if you want to become a sales professional who knows exactly what's going on in their industry, markets, and at their customers, and can use that information to talk to their customers about what has changed on an international, national, on an industry level. What changes are going to affect their business and how, most importantly, once you've spoken to change, how will your product or service or the transformation you offer help to move them from that challenging, undesirable place to the more desirable, better, optimized state. Next, you want to then say, how will your solution help? So you now need to, remember this is the brass tacks sales deck, right? It's a brass tacks sales deck. So you need to talk about how your solution will actually help. I'm pausing again because I really need you to understand. This is not an opportunity to dump features it's a golden opportunity to speak transformation. It's that so what part of the conversation. We have a widget, and because we supply you with this widget, you're in this undesirable state, and the transformation that you're going to enjoy, the positive transformation you're going to enjoy as a result of using our widget, will put you in the optimized position. In other words, what's in it for me? This is what's in it for me. We've got to talk to what's in it for you, not feature dumping. Transformation. We've got to speak to you in terms of how you're going to be in an optimized position because you used our product and service. And can you see that's value? That's showing your customer we're not the lowest price in the market, but we're the best value in the market. Next, you want to prove your solution is better. Now, how do you prove it's better? Well, with case studies, recorded testimonials. You can also run trials. Like I said, you want to remove the risk, okay? So by proving it works with the trial, remove the risk. By accepting that only once you prove it works, the customer pays, remove the risk. So, as I said previously, when you remove risk, customers buy with confidence. And remember, your buyer's deck or your middle tier deck is your brass tacks deck that talks about return on investment, and it's the deck that you're delivering to the person who holds the budget. So you've got to talk about cost, but be careful here when you talk cost, right? Cost is not, our competitor's product costs 10 Rand and our product costs 15 Rand. No, that's not cost. What we've got to do is, this is where we need to become business consultants. This is where we need to get to understand. Let's just use an example of a gearbox. So let's say we've got a gearbox in a very dusty area that's extremely high vibration. By putting in one of your gearboxes, currently that gearbox only lasts 6 months before it breaks down and needs replacing. But because you can put in coolers and your system, your gearbox runs so effectively in a high vibrational environment, you know that you'll only need to possibly replace that gearbox every 2 years. So first of all, the cost saving is, well, you can replace it 4 times less. So there's a 4 times cost saving already. Plus, every time that gearbox is down, your line is down, it's going to cost you production. So those are the kind of financial conversations we need to be having with our customers. We need to be talking in terms of not price, but value. Next, once we've spoken about what the solution costs, in other words, where do you speak about what your solution costs? You talk about that in your proposal. So your proposal's got to be dynamic and engaging, and it's got to speak to return on investment. It's got to speak to price. It's got to speak to real intrinsic costs. And finally, once you've done all of this, you want to form a long-term, mutually beneficial supply partnership. And that's the language. That's the collaborative kind of language that we need to be using with our customers all the time. So as we develop our decks, I get it. Your industry might be different. So use this as a guide. Use this as an example. Think about your industry. Think about your market, your customers. Would this system work for your middle tier deck? Is there one section you could leave out? Do you need to introduce something else? But basically, let me just go through it one more time. We have an opening. It's got to catch them. It's got to be a powerful, dynamic opening that catches it. Then we've got to have a look at what is the challenge. Identify what it is. That undesirable state. Next, you need to say, okay, so if that's the undesirable state of the challenge, who has it? Because depending on who has it will be how you will respond. So who has the challenge? Next, you want to have a look and say, who has the challenge? Sorry, we've done it. Who has the challenge? Next, you want to say what's missing. Now, when you talk what's missing, like I said, never bad mouth your competitors, right? Then you've got to say what has changed. So you've got to look internationally, nationally at the organization, even within your organization. Maybe you've got a new line of products. Maybe you now have motors that you want to put on your gearboxes. So things might have changed. What are those changes and what do they mean to your customers? Then Then we've got to say how our solution will help, what it'll do, what is the positive transformation, so what, what's in it for me. Describe value to your customers. Next, we want to talk about, we need to deliver a proposal, and in that proposal, we need to talk about all of these things, plus we need to say or show what the costs are. Not just the price, but we need to have a business conversation about cost. So there's the price, which is what you pay. Then there's the what I refer to as the cost, right? So let's say, for example, the price is 10 Rand, but if the plant goes down, you'll lose R1 million a day. So the cost, the price is 10, but the cost is R1 million. The value is the difference between the two. And you need to have those business conversations. You need to put that information into your proposal so that it becomes a no-brainer. They have a look at it, because if you just put price, they're going to put your quote next to your competitor's quote, and they're going to go, this one's 10 Rand, this one's 15 Rand, I'm going to go with the 10 Rand one. But if you go and you have a financial conversation, a business conversation where you show them value, you look at intrinsic costs, and in the module we speak about all the different types of costs. Get to know what all those costs are and include all those costs in your sales decks and your proposals. And finally, all that's left to do is we never close any sales. We open, develop, create a long-term, mutually beneficial supply partnership.